So this is insulting to every citizen of this country, and everybody who gave their lives, of course, for this country, for us to be here, for our sovereignty, our independence, and everything this country stands for, and for the last 800 years has fought for. And for this so-called leader of the Republic of Ireland, what people fought and died for him to have a job, first of all. He wouldn't have a job only for these men and women that went out in 1916, that went out in the War of Independence. So he's some brass neck, first of all, to come out and lecture people who clearly put down in the Irish Proclamation what they were fighting for. They fought for Ireland's independence, and only for Ireland. It wasn't, as I said at the time, it was neither for king nor Kaiser. And it's true to this day, we serve neither Europe nor any other country. We serve ourselves. It's Ireland. For Ireland should always be the first thing in any Irish person's mind. It's our people. It's nationalism. It's the most important thing to Irish people. It should be the most important thing to every country, every sane sovereign country, is independence, our own people, our own nation. And Micheál Martin here suggesting that Ireland, the Irish people that went out in 1916 and the War of Independence, were fighting for the European Union, were fighting for Europe to be united and stuff like that, and all this kind of crack. That's more or less what he's suggesting here, pretty much in a way. And it's clearly stated, if you look at the proclamation of the Irish Republic that was read out on the steps of the GPO by Padraig Pearse, it was clear, there's no doubt in anybody's mind that read the proclamation that it was not for any other country but Ireland. That's all. They only cared about Ireland. They didn't care about anybody else or anything else, and they were right to, because they took a stance that not many other people in the world would have, and no other country nearly in the world did, against a mighty empire. And they fought for this country's independence. They didn't fight for themselves. They fought for Ireland. And that's the that they didn't think about themselves. They didn't think about witches. They didn't think about anything else, a big job and stuff. They thought about one day my son, my daughter, my grandchildren could live in for free in a sovereign Ireland. And that's what they thought about in 1916 and during the War of Independence. And this man here, 100 and something years later, 109 years later, belittles their memory. Belittles, and I say this is belittling their memory. It's blatant trying to rewrite in history, because they hate Irish history. They despise it. Micheál Martin despises it. The Irish government despises it. We see it time and time again. They want to destroy every cultural heritage site in this country belonging to men who fought for sovereignty and independence. They hate it. They despise it. And Micheál Martin's the top cleric of this, let's put it that way, because it's a cult nearly that these people want to destroy Irish history and rewrite Irish history. But this is the thing, you can't rewrite history. Simple as that, you cannot do it. Simple as that, history is history. What happened has happened. There's no way of rewriting the past. I know things have happened in the past in other countries that people would love to rewrite, and things have happened in history that we would love to rewrite. But that's history. That's the pages of history. But this is I feel very insulted, because my great-grandmother was in Cunnaman during the War of Independence, hiding people in their house from the OIC and the Black and Tans. And it wasn't only for people like her and other people like her that the War of Independence succeeded. And only for them people. But you can tell by looking at the likes. There's not many people who are too fond of it. Like anybody who sat down and listened to that dribble in Arbor Hill, with the people in front of the graves of the 1916 leaders. I don't know what to say to you, but this is dribble at the highest level. But then you add in this. We want nothing to do with the backwards looking at your sovereignty. So Micheál Martin is well known for this carry on of belittling Ireland's sovereignty, what these men and women fought for. If you read the proclamation, go and read the proclamation now. It mentions God many times. It mentions Ireland many times, the people of Ireland. It doesn't mention, let's go and fight for the European Union or anything like that. It doesn't mention anything like that. They will only go with Padraig Pearse and James Connolly and all the people who went out in 1916. The only thing they had in their mind was to free this country from tyranny, and one day that we could be free. And that's what their dream was. And now we are free, but we have people that, like Micheál Martin, who want to destroy this country, who want to bring this country down, who want to belittle heroes that fought for our independence, for our sovereignty, the very foundation of our state. Because sovereignty is meaning. It has meaning. It's just a word, but it does have meaning. It means the whole foundation of our state, what we built up, what we sacrifice throughout our history. That's what defines a nation, is our sovereignty, our independence, our very fabric of our soul. And this man that's the leader of Ireland, 109 years after the 1916 Rising, belittles everything that every Irish man and every Irish woman has sacrificed for the last 100 years for our sovereignty, our independence, as a sovereign free nation. And it belittles me, and it belittles it should belittle every Irish citizen, that this is the attitude of the Irish government, because again, he is the Taoiseach, he represents the government of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. This is what they take of these men and women. This is what they take of them. This is, and in front of their graves nonetheless. It's belittling, and you can tell by, you probably hear me, it's belittling, and it's belittling to me that this is the attitude of the Irish state, trying to rewrite history, because that's clearly what he's trying to do here. He simply wants to rewrite history to his narrative and to the government's narrative, and it simply cannot be allowed to happen, because it's not true, it's false, it's misinformation, as we would say, because nowhere in the proclamation does this say this drivel. And again, you can emphasise, there's many different ways I suppose you could look at it in terms of what he said, but in whatever way it is, it means nothing to what the original text of the Irish Parliament, the people who actually give up their lives in 1916, what their point was. The proclamation too was pretty much what their ideas were, what their hopes and dreams were for the country too, and it's pretty much pen to paper, like it's pretty much there, and you can just read through the comments here that people are not happy, and rightly so, because this is, I would go and say the word, but it's beyond high treason, but it's I find this very insulting. I know people would, and again, especially this man, again, this is the thing I don't think he realised, Micheál Martin, and a lot of the TDs and senators, that they wouldn't have a job only for these men and women that went out and shed their blood. They didn't think about money. They didn't think about the European Union. They didn't think about Davos. They thought about Ireland. They thought about the future of our country. They didn't think about themselves. Not once did any of them sit down and think about themselves. Oh, I could become rich off this and all that. None of them, not one of them, cared about their own safety, about their own finances or anything like that. But this man does. Simple as that. He doesn't think of the state. He thinks about his own pocket. And that's the problem with Irish politics nowadays. We don't have people who care about the country. We don't have people that think about the people. And that's all. And that's what it's about. Everything in life is about people. And Micheál Martin belittles the Irish people, what he said here, and what he said before in 2016. And he still hasn't clarified this. And I call on Micheál Martin to clarify this. This is 2016. Does he still think like that? Because going by this, he definitely does. There's no suggestion that he's changed his mind. But I find this very insulting. I think the majority of Irish people would. And I know a few people that I've showed it to at work and stuff like that. They don't agree with it whatsoever too. They think it's very insulting. And anybody would read this think it was very insulting. Because we, even as an only Irish citizen, we owe everything to Patrick Pearse, James Connolly, Thomas Clark, MacDonald, everybody. We owe everyone that went out in 1916 the huge amount. Words cannot even describe what these people sacrificed for us to be free. For us, not for them. For us to be free, for the next generation, for their generations after them. There's no words that they could describe how grateful Irish people are for their fight and for enduring huge suffering. There's no words to put that can emphasise how grateful Irish people are for these men and women that give the ultimate sacrifice for freedom, for our state, for our country. There's no words in the human dictionary to describe it. I'm not even going to try to describe it, because words itself cannot show gratitude to these men and women that went out and did what they had to do. But again, people like Micheál Martin don't seem to agree with it. And I have a huge problem with that, because I have a huge admiration to James Connolly, Thomas Clark, all the people who went out. People during the War of Independence, Michael Collins, Arthur Griffith. Only for these men and women, we would have nothing as a state. They give us meaning. They give us direction. They give us a future. And unfortunately thrown it to the dogs. But everything in that proclamation gives us a direction, a face forward, if that makes any sense. Because they told us what way to go, what's the way to lead this country. And unfortunately, people like Micheál Martin decided to ignore it. Let me know what you think. Subscribe for more. Bye.